Larry Bird is back in the front office of the Indiana Pacers, and he feels the Brooklyn Nets will be an awfully tough team to deal with in the coming season on the heels of their acquisition of Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce. Bird saying both players have plenty left in the tank. We are joined by ESPN NBA insider J.A. Donde with more insight. And J.A., let's start on KG. This is a player that brings defensive intensity and mental toughness. How do you suppose those characteristics can carry over to maybe be learned characteristics for his new teammates?
I think that's the great curiosity, because Kevin Garnett certainly changed the culture of the Boston Celtics when he got there in 2007. All of a sudden, you saw a noticeable difference in their defensive intensity, even from the guys who'd already been there. So I'm wondering, when he gets to Brooklyn, will he have that same impact? Is he going to be acknowledged as the leader of that team, or is it still considered Darren Williams' team? And Darren isn't quite as intense. He doesn't play with the same amount of fire as KG. Will he see that? Will he follow KG's lead? Or are they going to sit back and say, okay, there's a group that's been there already. Joe Johnson joined that group last year, and there's a group that's coming in clearly for short term. Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce are not the long-term future of the Brooklyn Nets. So I'm just wondering how that fit is going to be and who's going to assume the leadership role. And that's, I think, is the number one question, because Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce can't be counted on to play heavy minutes, to be a major part of the rotation. Obviously, there'll be factors, but they're not going to be out there playing 40-plus minutes a night. So how much will they be able to lead just by their presence?
I would imagine that the goal right now, as we speak, is to win a championship as early as next season. You mentioned the fact that KG and Pierce, they kind of carried the load in Boston, and on the heels of the Rondo injury, didn't have enough left in the tank when it was all said and done. But they're joining a team that has Williams, Johnson, and Lopez, who can kind of carry the load throughout the course of the regular season. So what importance will those two have in terms of production on the court when it's all said and done?
Well, the new guys, I don't know if you can expect them to carry it over the top. And it's very rare. People saw what happened when Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen got to Boston. They won a championship that first year. You have to understand, it's very rare that a team goes from not winning a playoff series to winning a championship. It hadn't happened in the NBA since basically the 82-83 Lakers, 81-82 Lakers, who, that team had basically a championship DNA and lost in the first round when Magic Johnson was injured. You're talking about a Nets team that couldn't get past the first round this year. So are these guys going to be able to make the difference to make them win the championship? Could LeBron James and Chris Bosh, their arrival didn't result in a championship. So I don't see how the arrival of Pierce and Garnett automatically means championship for the Brooklyn Nets, and especially since you've got the return of the Heat pretty much coming back intact, and you've got a very good Pacers squad that pushed the Heat to the brink of the Eastern Conference Finals. So I don't see how you can put the Nets ahead of those two teams as they're trying to integrate these two new pieces.
Jay, the other storyline for the Nets is the fact that they have a first-time coach. Jason Kidd leaves playing and goes right to the coaching ranks in less than 2 weeks' time. J.A., this is a player in Kidd that had that mental toughness, much like Pierce and Garnett, though he's now a coach. So how does that new duo help make his job easier?
Well, you do have people that will police the locker room and police huddles for you, and that helps immeasurably. He's got Lawrence Frank on the sidelines, who was his coach in New Jersey. Frank joins the team as an assistant, and I think you'll have a little bit of experience in the game planning and the management and all those elements that Jason Kidd is going to have to learn. I think he can rely on Lawrence Frank to help him out with those elements. But again, Lawrence Frank, not a coach that's had playoff success. Jason Kidd can be trying it his first time. So part of the reason you want that established coach on the sidelines is when things get a little hectic during the playoffs, you want somebody you can look to who's been through that situation before and can be a calming influence. And Jason Kidd provide that. He's done it as a player. Is he going to be able to do it as a coach when he's still learning things on the fly? That's another reason you have to question the championship capability of these Nets in their first year.
He's ESPN NBA insider J.A. Donde. J.A., thanks for the insight.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Again, Larry Bird says the Nets will be awfully tough to deal with next season thanks to the arrival of Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce. You can read more about this story right here on ESPN.com with the latest ESPN headlines. I'm Jim Basquill.